Mindset is the invisible switch that controls the power of your life. You don't see it, you don't hear it click, but the moment it flips, everything changes. Jim Rohn taught us that success is not something you chase, it's something you attract by the person you become. And who you become is shaped first in your mind. Two people wake up under the same sky, face the same problems, and live in the same world. Yet one grows stronger while the other stays stuck. Why? Because mindset decides whether problems are seen as prisons or classrooms. The poor mindset says, "Why is this happening to me?" The powerful mindset asks, "What is this teaching me?" Your habits are born in your thinking. Your income, your discipline, your confidence, all are reflections of the conversations you have with yourself when no one is listening. If you believe life is hard, it will be. If you believe growth is possible, you'll find a way. Jim Rohn reminded us, you don't get paid for your time, you get paid for the value you bring. And value always begins in the mind. A weak mindset waits for motivation. A strong mindset creates discipline. Motivation comes and goes, but mindset stays. When you flip that invisible switch, excuses lose their power. Fear gets quieter. Action becomes natural. You stop waiting for the perfect moment and start becoming the person who creates moments. The greatest tragedy is not failure, it's living with unused potential because the switch was never turned on. Decide today to upgrade your thinking. Feed your mind with better ideas, better standards, and better expectations. Because the moment your mindset changes, your direction changes, and when your direction changes, so does your destiny. Flip the switch, take control, and never forget, the life you want is already possible the moment you decide to think differently. Your life does not rise to the level of your dreams, it falls to the level of your mindset. This single truth explains why so many people dream big yet live small. Dreams are free, everyone has them, but mindset is the filter that decides which dreams get watered and which slowly dry up. You can dream of success, freedom, confidence, and wealth. But if your mindset is weak, those dreams never stand a chance. They remain ideas, not realities. Mindset is the silent force working in the background of every decision you make. It shapes how you react to failure, how long you persist when things get hard, and how you see yourself when no one is applauding. Two people can have the same dream, but the one with the stronger mindset will outgrow the other every single time. Not because they are smarter, luckier, or more talented, but because they think differently. Most people overestimate the power of dreaming and underestimate the power of thinking. They say, "I want more," but they keep the same habits. They say, "I want change," but they protect the same comfort zones. Jim Rohn often reminded us that success is not something you pursue, it's something you attract by becoming a better version of yourself. And becoming better always begins with thinking better. A poor mindset looks for excuses. A strong mindset looks for solutions. When problems appear, the weak mindset complains, blames, and waits. The strong mindset adapts, learns, and moves forward. Life will challenge everyone, no exceptions. The difference is not the size of the challenge, but the strength of the mindset facing it. When you believe life is unfair, every obstacle feels personal. When you believe life is a training ground, every obstacle feels purposeful. Your mindset decides how long you stay down after life knocks you down. Failure is not what stops people. Interpretation does. One person fails and says, "This proves I can't do it." Another fails and says, "This shows me what doesn't work." Same event, different mindset, completely different future. That is why your life does not rise with your dreams, it falls to your mindset. Most limits are not real. They are mental agreements you made long ago. Someone once told you what you couldn't do. Society gave you a label. Fear whispered lies about your ability. Over time, those voices became your own. And once a thought is repeated long enough, it starts to feel like truth. Jim Rohn warned us that if you don't design your own life, someone else will, and they usually design it small. Mindset controls your standards, and your standards control your results. If your standard is, I'll try, you'll get average results. If your standard is, I'll do whatever it takes, your results must eventually rise to meet that expectation. You don't change your life by hoping. You change it by raising the internal bar of what you accept from yourself. The scary part is that mindset works whether you are aware of it or not. If you believe you are behind in life, you will act behind. If you believe opportunities are rare, you will hesitate. If you believe growth is possible, you will take action even when confidence is missing. Your actions always follow your beliefs. That's why changing behavior without changing mindset never lasts. Dreams are like destinations, but mindset is the engine. A weak engine won't take you far, no matter how beautiful the destination looks. Strengthen the engine, and even unclear dreams start to take shape. Jim Rohn believed that personal development is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be, and personal development always starts in the mind. Every day, you are voting for the kind of life you will live by the thoughts you entertain. What you read, what you listen to, who you spend time with, these all feed your mindset. Feed it negativity and your dreams shrink. Feed it discipline, belief, and responsibility, and your dreams begin to demand action. Your life is not waiting for better luck, better timing, or better circumstances. It is waiting for a better mindset. The moment you decide to think differently, you begin to live differently. And that decision, quiet, invisible, and internal, is where everything truly changes. The same circumstances produce success for one person and failure for another, because mindset decides the outcome. This truth is uncomfortable because it removes excuses. If circumstances were the real cause of success or failure, then responsibility could be shifted to the economy, the past, or other people. But Jim Rohn taught that circumstances don't shape your life. Your decisions do. And every decision is filtered through mindset. Look around the world and you will see people who started with nothing and built everything, and others who started with everything and lost it all. Same world. Same time, same opportunities, different outcomes. The difference is not luck, education, or connections alone. It is how each person interprets what happens to them. One sees a closed door and turns back. Another sees the same door and starts looking for a window. Circumstances are neutral. They have no power on their own. It is the meaning you assign to them that gives them power. Rain can be an excuse to cancel plans or an opportunity to prepare better. Failure can be proof of inadequacy or evidence of growth. Pressure can crush you or sharpen you. Mindset is the lens that determines which version becomes real. A weak mindset waits for conditions to improve. A strong mindset improves itself regardless of conditions. History is filled with people who did not wait for permission, perfect timing, or ideal situations. They acted while things were messy, unclear, and uncomfortable. They understood something most people miss. Conditions rarely change first, people do. Jim Rohn often said that we must learn to work harder on ourselves than we do on our jobs. Why? Because the job responds to who you are. Two people can work the same job in the same company, under the same boss. One grows, the other stays stuck. The job didn't change, the person did, or didn't. The average mindset says, if things were easier, I would try. The powerful mindset says, if I try, things will get easier. This shift is subtle, but it changes everything. Instead of asking life for less challenge, the strong mindset asks for more skill, more discipline, more wisdom. It understands that growth is not a gift, it is earned. Failure exposes mindset. When things go wrong, excuses rush to the surface. It's not the right time. I don't have the resources. People like me don't succeed. These are not facts. They are conclusions created by mindset. The successful person hears the same excuses but refuses to accept them as truth. They take ownership even when it hurts. Mindset determines how long you stay stuck in a moment. Some people experience a setback and mentally move on within days. Others relive it for years. Same event, different mindset. One uses pain as fuel, the other uses it as an anchor. The event has passed, but the mindset keeps it alive. Circumstances reveal character. Pressure reveals priorities. Struggle reveals belief. When life becomes difficult, your mindset either expands or collapses. That's why tough times are often the turning points of great lives, not because they were easy, but because someone chose to respond differently. The strongest mindset understands that responsibility is power. Blame feels good in the moment, but it steals control. Ownership feels heavy at first, but it gives freedom. When you accept that your response matters more than your situation, you take back control of your future. You don't need better circumstances to start winning. You need a better way of thinking about the circumstances you already have. When mindset changes, behavior changes. When behavior changes, results follow. And once results change, circumstances eventually must change too. Success and failure stand on the same ground. The ground is life. What separates them is not where you stand, but how you stand. And that difference is decided in the mind. Change the way you think, and everything you touch begins to change its direction. This is not motivational poetry. It is a principle that governs every human life. Jim Rohn taught that progress starts internally before it ever becomes visible externally. The world you experience on the outside is largely a reflection of the world you have built on the inside. When your thinking shifts, your choices shift. When your choices shift, your habits follow, and when habits change, outcomes cannot remain the same. Most people try to change results without changing thoughts. They want better income, stronger relationships, more confidence, and greater discipline, but they keep the same mental patterns. They wake up with the same beliefs, repeat the same self-talk, and expect a different future. That contradiction is why so many people feel stuck. They are trying to upgrade the destination without upgrading the driver. Your thinking determines what you notice and what you ignore. Two people walk into the same room. One sees opportunity, the other sees risk. One hears possibility, the other hears fear. Reality didn't change, perception did. The moment you change how you interpret life, life responds differently. Opportunities that were invisible suddenly appear. Solutions that once seemed complex become obvious. Direction shifts not because the world moved, but because you did. Jim Rohn emphasized that success is a few simple disciplines practiced daily, while failure is a few errors in judgment repeated every day. Judgment begins in thought. Small thoughts lead to small actions. Expanded thinking leads to bold movement. When you think bigger, you act braver. When you think clearer, you act wiser. Your thinking is the command center of your behavior. Negative thinking narrows life. It shrinks vision, weakens effort, and exaggerates fear. Positive thinking alone is not enough, but intentional thinking is everything. Intentional thinkers question their assumptions. They challenge limiting beliefs. They don't accept the first explanation their fear provides. They ask better questions, and better questions produce better answers. Change does not start with motivation. It starts with awareness. You cannot improve a thought pattern you refuse to examine. Once you become aware of how you think under pressure, how you think about money, failure, time, and self-worth, you gain leverage. Awareness creates choice, and choice creates change. When your thinking improves, your standards improve. You stop tolerating what once drained you. You stop negotiating with laziness. You stop explaining away mediocrity. Higher thinking produces higher expectations of yourself, and life always responds to the level of standards you enforce. Thinking also determines patience. A short-term mindset seeks comfort. A long-term mindset builds value. The person who thinks long-term invests in skills, relationships, and character. They understand that sacrifice now creates freedom later. That perspective alone changes the direction of effort and the quality of decisions. Jim Rohn believed that personal development is the greatest investment you can make because it changes how you think, and that changes everything else. Books, mentors, reflection, and discipline all shape thinking. When you feed your mind with better ideas, it begins to reject poor ones naturally. As thinking changes, emotional control improves. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop panicking and start planning. You stop blaming and start building. Emotional maturity is not about suppressing feelings. It is about directing them through intelligent thought. Eventually, the external world catches up. People notice your confidence. Opportunities align with your preparation. Results reflect your internal upgrade, not because life suddenly became easy, but because you became capable. The most powerful transformation is silent. No one sees the moment you decide to think differently. No applause follows the shift. But from that moment forward, everything you touch begins to move in a new direction because the hands shaping it are guided by a better mind. So now, let's pause for a moment and really reflect. Imagine just for a second that you are standing in front of a locked door. Behind it lies the life you have always dreamed of, the success, the freedom, the impact you've wanted. You see it clearly in your mind. Now someone asks you, what's stopping you from opening it? Is it the lock, the key, or is it something else? You see, that's the invisible truth about life. The door is never the problem. The lock is never the issue. It is the mindset, the way you think about the door, about the key, about your ability to turn it. That determines whether it swings open or remains shut. But I'm not ready, you might say, and that is exactly the voice that keeps ordinary people trapped. Listen carefully, because I'm going to tell you something Jim Rohn taught over and over. You are never ready. You learn by doing, by stepping, by acting. Think about it. No, one is born successful, confident, or wealthy. Those qualities are built one thought, one decision, one action at a time. So the question isn't, am I ready? The real question is, will I start? And let's have another honest dialogue right here. Ask yourself, am I going to let fear write the story of my life, or am I going to write it myself? Because fear loves to whisper, doesn't it? You're too late. You're not capable. Someone else is better than you. But here's the reality. Fear only has power if you feed it. You can starve it or you can fuel it. And the choice is yours every single morning. Jim Rohn would ask, are you going to let your circumstances define you, or are you going to define your circumstances? And let's be honest, life doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't pause for your doubts. Life moves forward whether you are prepared or not. But here's the secret. When you decide to upgrade your thinking, the universe starts responding to the new you. You see, the invisible switch isn't in the world, it's in your mind. Flip it, and suddenly problems become challenges you are ready to face. Obstacles become opportunities to grow. Challenges become lessons that push you toward your destiny. Now, imagine standing again in front of that door. This time you whisper to yourself, I will not be stopped. I will not be denied. I am capable of more than I realize. I will turn the key. That whisper is more powerful than any fear because it comes from someone who has decided to take responsibility for their life. That whisper is your mindset speaking, your invisible switch flipping, and your future beginning. You might ask, but what if I fail? And to that I say, fail loudly, fail proudly, fail forward. Every failure is not a reflection of your worth. It is a signal that you are pushing beyond your comfort zone. Jim Rohn said, failure is simply a few errors in judgment repeated every day. But those errors stop being failures when your mindset is strong enough to learn, adapt, and try again. Success is not avoiding failure, it's using it as fuel to go further. Here's another dialogue to embed in your mind. What would I do if I knew I could not fail? Ask yourself that question every morning. The answer is not some distant dream. It is the blueprint of what your mindset wants you to pursue today. That question forces you to see beyond your excuses, beyond your limits, and beyond the comfort that keeps you small. That question makes you brave, and bravery is the key that starts turning locks. And let's not forget this. You are not in competition with anyone else. The race is yours alone. Your journey is yours alone. Don't measure yourself by the success of others. Measure yourself by the courage of your choices. Measure yourself by how consistently you flip the switch in your mind, even when it feels impossible. Jim Rohn often reminded us that your income, your relationships, your health, they all rise or fall based on what you feed your mind. So feed it greatness, feed it hope, feed it belief. Now imagine your life a year from now. A year where every day you have decided to act differently, think differently, believe differently. Can you see it? Can you feel the energy, the momentum, the people you've influenced, the doors you've opened, the obstacles you've overcome? That vision is not fantasy. It is a reflection of what is possible when mindset rules over doubt, when belief outshines fear, and when action follows thought relentlessly. So today, I challenge you to make that invisible switch visible in your life. Decide that no matter what comes, you will not let it dictate your direction. Decide that no matter how many obstacles appear, your mind will remain your greatest asset. Decide that no longer will you wait for circumstances to change. You will change yourself first and watch the world align with you. And finally, speak these words to yourself every day with conviction. I am in control of my thoughts, my decisions, and my actions. I am the architect of my life. I am capable of more than I know. I will rise, I will grow, and I will succeed. Because when you embrace that dialogue, that mindset, that invisible switch, you become unstoppable. Life will no longer just happen to you. It will happen through you. And that is the power Jim Rohn wanted each of us to understand. Success begins in the mind, and the mind that chooses greatness chooses a future that nothing can take away. So, flip the switch, own your life. Step boldly into the person you were always meant to become. And remember, it all starts with a single thought. The thought that says, I can and I will.